Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 36 of TeachTech Play. I'm Eleni Kyritsis and I'm the host and founder of TeachTech Play. Today we've got a fantastic show with some of my favorite speakers here, and I'm really excited to hear what they have to share. But before we get started, I'd just like to wish everyone a happy new year, 2018. It's going super fast and I can't believe it's a couple months till the conference. So make sure you get your ticket ASAP. They are selling like hotcakes. I think this year they're selling faster than ever. And I'd also like to congratulate episode 35 winner, Lauren Sayer. Make sure if you haven't watched that episode, you jump onto our website and you can watch it. Now, I'd like to introduce all of our wonderful presenters. Some are people that we've had on the show before and also keynoted TeachTech Play in the past. But we'll start with you, Kathleen. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? I know that you and I met in, I think it was my second year of teaching. You sort of got me on the role to blogging and using a blog in my classroom. So I thank you for that. And it's a privilege to have you on the show finally.
Oh, thank you, Eleni. It's awesome to be here today. So yes, my name's Kathleen Morris and I'm a primary school teacher from Geelong in Australia. I am currently on family leave from my full-time teaching position. So I just do some relief teaching at the moment. And I also am doing some work with EduBlogs to help spread the word about blogging, which of course is a topic I'm particularly passionate about.
Perfect. Thank you, Kathleen. And I know you're working really hard on that with EduBlogs. So I'm excited to see what it all coming together. So excited to see that. Next up, we have our keynote from last year's conference. So Matt, do you want to tell everyone, say a big hello? I think most people know who you are.
Yes, I would love to. So I'm Matt Miller from Indiana here in the United States, career high school Spanish teacher, right now doing writing and speaking and blogging and the whole ditch that textbook thing. I did go and speak at the TeachTech Play conference last year. It was amazing, phenomenal, learned a lot about conferences and got to meet all of these wonderful folks. I got to climb the Sydney Harbour Bridge. I got to see the Opera House, and I even went to an Australian rules football game and had a meat pie. Is that what you guys call those?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I feel like I got a very well-rounded Aussie experience while I was there with my wife. So I'm excited to be on the show.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. And we loved having you down under. It was great fun having you here. And of course, our first ever TeachTech Play conference, we had Mark Anderson who keynoted there. So it's great to have you on the show as well, Mark.
Thank you, Eleni. It's great to see you as well. I'm looking forward to seeing you again face to face. Sort of in a few weeks at Beth's over here in London. Yeah, so I'm Mark. Hello, and I share loads of things around teaching and learning with technology. I used to teach, I don't teach anymore, and I sort of get involved in events such as TeachTech Play. Like you said, it was a fantastic time being over there with you and the team, and had such a brilliant time. And it's great to finally get back on the show again. So I've not been on for a little while, but really good to be here. So thank you.
No problem. And I'll just share my screen so you can all see the website, the link to make sure you go and check out all the previous episodes and this one as well. And you can vote for your favorite presenter. And just a quick reminder, as most people have spoken, Kathleen will be at the conference this year, which I'm really excited about as well. So make sure you do check it out and get your ticket ASAP, especially when schools go back. I know budgets are opening in Australia, which is a perfect time to get your PD in for the year. Alrighty, so to kick off today's show, we have got Kathleen starting. So let me know, Kathleen, when you're ready and I will start the timer.
Sure. Let me just share my screen here. Can you see that?
Yep, perfect.
Awesome. So it's back to basics for me, talking about where teachers and students can find free images legally and ethically. We know that there's a problem that presents itself in classrooms with teachers and students creating more and more digital work, whether it's blog posts or videos, whatever they're doing, and they need images to enhance the quality of their work, of course. But where do you find them? Now, many teachers and students still just head straight to Google Images, which of course is not the best option because most of the images you find there are protected by copyright. There is an option in Google Images where you can go into tools and usage rights to filter your search results, but this isn't as straightforward as it seems because you still need to find the source of the image and sometimes attribute it and so on, and you might not be able to find the image you're after anyway. Another option is, of course, creating your own images. Now, there's different ways you can do this, of course, just drawing pictures and taking photos, using simple programs on your computer like Paint. And of course, there's heaps of online programs like Canva and Adobe Spark and Google Auto Draw, things like that. But there's two problems I've found here, and one is that a lot of those awesome online tools are only for students over 13. So if you teach primary school, that can be a bit of a restriction. And the other issue I've found is sometimes you can go off on a bit of a tangent. You've got your learning objective for your lesson, and that's probably not creating pictures, so it can sort of interrupt your workflow a little bit to have to stop and do that. Of course, there's the option to purchase images, but what school has a budget for that? Despite this, I still think it's a good discussion to have with your students about the ethics of paying artists for their creations and so on. So it's good to point out that this is an option. This brings us to Creative Commons, which, if you haven't heard of Creative Commons, it's an international organisation that makes licenses available to people so that when they share their work, they can let everyone know how other people can use it. And this is great to teach your students about. And even when I was teaching grade 2, I would teach my students about finding and using Creative Commons images in their blog posts. There is a bit of an investment in time, though, to teach your students about how to do this properly and how to attribute your Creative Commons images properly too. So sometimes you need a shortcut, and a good shortcut is finding Creative Commons 0 and royalty-free images, which are the least restrictive images which don't require you to attribute them so that you can use them freely. And over the last few years, there seems to be an increasing number of sites available that have some really awesome images for people to use freely. And but they're not all created equal. So obviously most of these aren't created for students, so there is some inappropriate content there, and a lot of them have age restrictions over 13 or 18. So what I've done in a blog post is I summarized 5 of those really good sites with Creative Commons 0 and royalty-free images so that you can see at a glance what the age restrictions are and what they offer and so on. And also I made a couple of task cards which you can use in your classroom to give to your students so they know exactly where they can go if they're looking for a shortcut to find an image that's not copyright, so they're doing it the legal and the ethical way. So hopefully that is helpful, and you can find that on my blog, KathleenAMorris.com, and hopefully I made it just in time.
Exactly 4 minutes. Well done. And I think what you spoke about there is something that, you know, everyone is aware of, or most people are aware of. And as a classroom teacher, it is always hard, especially when you're in the thick of a lesson and the kids are quickly, you know, putting their presentation together and, you know, to then go ahead and teach, you know, oh no, you can't just take that image. So I know something that my school did was we have information literacy classes where our librarian teacher specializes in that area, and we go through that whole process alongside our teaching and learning. So they get taught that, but not in that classroom setting where it becomes that hard time where you're like, oh, you can't just take that picture off Google. And, you know, I'm sure many of us, even today, sometimes do still do that, and we know it's ethically not right, and it's always important to teach our kids the right way. Mark and Matt, do you have anything else you want to add to that? Matt, off you go.
Yeah, I love, Kathleen, I love all the examples that you shared there, and just to help teachers remember that there are tons of options out there. And that graphic, I don't know if you saw or not, but I kind of like snuck my camera up to take a picture of that graphic. That that was awesome to have it all kind of broken down like that. And one thing that occurred to me when you were talking about Creative Commons is to go a step further than helping kids know how they can use things, but whenever they create things of their own, we might even talk to them about what kind of Creative Commons license you want to put on your own work before you share it out on the web. And I'd never really thought of that until you started presenting that. So that's one thing that kind of occurred to me, but I thought that was great. I thought you had a wonderful selection of options there.
Thank you, Matt. And that is an excellent idea. I guess classes could start to make their own bank of images and the students could license them for reuse across the school.
Now, just to follow up what Matt was saying, I thought it was really, really good as well. And you know, some of the best educators I follow on social media are ones who do what you've just done there, which is like, makes me really helpful, really useful, a great resource, putting it out there. And I'm sure that, I don't know when you posted it, but I'm sure that it's been really popular already. One of my most popular blog posts last year was on the same topic. I got it off Google Images. And people just are desperate for, simple ways to make it work for them in the classroom. And so that resource is absolutely brilliant. So thank you for sharing.
And
Thank you, Mark. Very kind.
And that's something I love about your blog, Kathleen, is everything on there is super easy and for the classroom teacher. And I know when I first came across it, it was a huge help in setting up blogging at my school. When they weren't doing anything, your website just had everything. Like I went to my principal and it was just all your resources you create are absolutely fantastic. And it's great to have you on the show. So next up, Matt, we've got you, and you are presenting virtual walking tours with Google Maps and Screencastify. So fingers crossed this all works and the internet doesn't let us down.
Right, exactly. All right, I'm going to keep track of my time over here on my phone too. So I'm hoping that I'm going to hit this 4 minutes. All right, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen also, and I'm going to be bringing together two of my favorite resources out there on the web for students, and one of those is Google Maps. And of course, there's this neat little feature. If you go to maps.google.com, and you go down in the bottom right-hand corner of Google Maps, you can see this little yellow guy. And if you drag him on the screen, what happens is and you're able to see what it looks like from the street, or even and you can go and walk in the museum in New York City. I knew that this is off.
We're losing you slightly, Matt.
How about me hearing?
Yeah, I can hear you now, but as you click, okay. It keeps
Yeah, I think whenever something loads, so I'm just going to keep going and hope that you can understand me.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is one of my favorite things because it literally is like a virtual field trip on demand. So all you have to do is call up Google Maps, drop the little yellow guide down, and you can take students pretty much wherever you want to in the world and drop them on the street so they can see what things look like. Now, I want to pair this together with a wonderful screencasting tool, like a screen recording tool called Screencastify. And I really like about Screencastify is that it lets you record video of what's going on your screen, and then students are able to take that video and it saves it instantly into their Google Drives. Just a second ago, I had the little orange box that popped open, and it gave me a couple of options. I can record with my microphone, I can record with my webcam, I can record my whole screen or just a specific tab. And so now I started that recording. My Chromebook that I'm working right now is actually recording my screen as I say this. And so a lot of times what people use Screencastify for is they use it to flip through slides, or they use it to flip through or to do a tutorial of a website. But this is one of those really neat ways to use Screencastify beyond that. So I suggest, what if your students do a virtual working and they've written out a script of what they're going to say. In their video, they start recording the screen just like I am right now. And they say, I'm going to take you on a virtual walking tour of New York. We're going to start parts. And then they details right of their script. They don't have to do it off the top of their head. And so they're reading from the script. One student is so then then they flip to another tab. And
I think we're losing you, Matt.
And now we can see Times Square. And from Times Square, you can say, so this is one of the most famous and well-known places in New York City where everybody wants to go. And then so while one student is talking and their voice being recorded, the other one can click around on Times and show them what it's like. So what happens at the end of that is you see that, and separating is stopped. Let me see, share my screen one more time. I shouldn't have taken that off. Record is that video. It's that video to your Google Drive. And the great thing of that is you know that if you use Google Classroom, Google Drive integrates well. And so the next thing is that you can turn it as easily as a document.
Matt, you sound like you're
Google
underwater.
Classroom.
But that's all right. I reckon if you just turn Screencastify off and say that last little bit at the end, because I think you're still recording.
Last little bit at the end was if you record audio, you can turn it in. Sorry, you can turn it in just as easily as you can turn in a document. So creating a video to turn in instead of a document gives you another option.
Yeah,
Thank you for your patience with my connection.
No, I commend you trying to record screen in a record screen like that's crazy, and going into maps. But we get the idea of what you were saying of, you know, taking it in, and, you know, as a teacher you can do stuff, but even getting the students to do that and click around and move around is really amazing. And I've seen you speak about this before, and it's absolutely amazing. I think at ISTE you showed me this, and I was like, that's really cool. And it's so easy to do, and it doesn't cost anything, and it just gives kids another avenue, especially those kids who may struggle to write like essays on things. You can give them another platform that they can share and learn. Does anyone else have anything to say to Matt?
Just to reinforce what you were saying, really, Eleni, you know, obviously there are loads of places that teachers want to take their kids to around the world, and I'm all for, you know, analog when it comes to experiencing things face to face. But actually, you know, sometimes children aren't old enough. There's cultural problems. Parents don't allow them to go to support and so on. And this gives them a really great avenue to not only visit a place but immerse themselves and you know, regale the stories of that virtual tour. You know, it's a fantastic idea. So again, thank you, Matt, for sharing. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Matt. I look forward to checking that one out. And I love the way that it could be used with even like kindergarten students, because they can just do something really simple. And then even up to, you know, adult education could do something that's a lot more in depth. So just, yeah, so much scope there. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
Alrighty, next up is me. So I am going to start my timer and get started. So I sort of had something else planned, and then this morning I woke up probably an hour before we started recording this and decided to change. So what I'm going to share with you all are 3 of my favorite picture books on teaching digital citizenship. And I know this is something that I love introducing at the start of the year, because as soon as kids get devices in your classroom, or, you know, new one-to-one, or they just get an iPad, you know, it's being Christmas, something that they all do is they do things that they think is right, but it's not right. So I'm just going to share my screen and share 3 picture books that I really love that you can use in junior classrooms. So hopefully you can all see my screen, and I'll get started. So first one I've got here, these are the 3 of them. So there's the Fabulous Friend Machine, the Tweeting GALA, and the Internet is Like a Puddle. So the first one, the Fabulous Friend Machine, is about a chicken who is the friendliest chicken on the farm, who gets along with everyone and loves everything, and then one day comes across a mobile phone and starts receiving messages saying hello, hello, and starts chatting to all these people that the chicken doesn't actually know. And the thing with when the chicken gets a phone is the chicken stops talking to everyone else on the farm and becomes really excluded. And the chicken decides to meet up with some of those friends that he's found online. But when they actually come, it's not who he thinks he is. And lucky he had those other friends on the farm to come and save him. So that's the first one. And I really like that because you can use that for any age in a school. You know, it depends on your kids and everything, but it's set at an age that you can use with your juniors to your middles to your upper primary years. And I think it's great because it allows kids to get that idea. And so many of them go onto apps and talk to people that they're like, oh no, it's a friend of a friend, but they actually don't know who it is. So it sort of gives it to them in a nice way. The second one I've got here is the internet is like a puddle. And this one I really liked. It's from the big hug book collection. So there's a few there. Life is like the wind, friendship is like a seesaw, and the playground is like a jungle. And they've all got life lessons, but it talks about how it may seem really shallow and really safe, but the internet can get you into a lot of trouble the deeper you dive in. And it goes through lots of things to be safe and to always ask a parent. Like, you wouldn't go around water that you don't know without a parent there. So that's another great little one. I'm just weary of time. I've got a minute and a half. And the last one is a tweeting GALA. And this is an Australian teacher. She's actually in Western Australia, and it's very Australian with lots of Australian animals through it. And the thing I love about this book is it's for that pre-teen age. So it talks, and it's got short stories in the book, and it talks about lots of things from, you know, taking photos and posting them online without people's permission to, you know, using it inappropriately in school, to finding an app, and because everyone else has the app, you get the app as well, and just how to be safe online. And the thing I really liked about it, I'll just stop sharing my screen here, is it at the end of each chapter, each little section, it's got a reflection page. So it's got questions that you can direct and ask as a teacher. And the final thing with this story is it's got an interactive component. So it's got VR, or is it AR? I always get it confused. Augmented reality, AR. I had to think in my head then, where you can download an app and it brings the story to life as well in her picture book. So they're just three that I love. I know it's always hard as a teacher, especially with digital safety. Kids think they know it all, and yes, I know that. I've heard that, and sometimes it's hard as a teacher. So, and I love picture books. If you know anything about me, I'm obsessed with them. Moving schools this year, I think I had I counted, and I've got over 100 picture books. So they're just a couple of my favorite ones that I know. Anyone else got any? Share them with me. I love building my collection, even though I shouldn't. But yeah, hopefully there's something there that you can connect and use in your own classroom. That was really fast and underprepared, but that's okay. Something new to share. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
I just remember when I came into your classroom when I visited back a few years ago, you know, there's just books everywhere, but you know, again, just great recommendations. I see loads of teachers sharing, you know, the latest works by X, Y, and Z, you know, but it's normally about pedagogy or leadership or teaching and learning, whatever it is, you know, but having some recommendations for books you can use in the classroom is really helpful.
Yeah, and that's something I think, you know, no matter what age you teach, I think picture books are something that every kid, every adult should even read, and they're just great. And yeah, I use them. If I don't read a picture book in a day, something's wrong. Matt, you've got a question?
I wanted to interject just because of what you just said. That was what kind of struck me, is that, you know, I've had, you know, 15 to 18-year-old students in all of my classes in my teaching career. And I know that those students would love, they're like big little kids, if that makes any sense, you know, and they love a good picture book and the lessons you can get. Sometimes the thing I love about children's books like that is that they take a big idea and they distill it down into something very simple that you can wrap your brain around. And I think that can, you know, they say that brevity is powerful. And so, yeah, I think this is a fantastic idea. I'm glad I don't know what you had planned before, but I'm really glad that you changed your mind, because this is great.
Yeah, well, I can save the other one for another time. It's what I'll be sharing at BET next week. So that will be exciting. And that's me. Any other questions? Kathleen, did you have anything?
I was just going to say, I think this is a good way maybe to bridge the gap. I know a lot of teachers feel pretty uncomfortable with the topic of digital citizenship. They feel like students know more than they do and so on. So picture books is a good way to introduce it into the class. And the students could create their own too, of course. So
yeah,
I love those.
Yeah, and I've had the kids do that. They always want to create their own little things. And last year I actually shared a board game I created with the kids. And so that I'm pretty sure is on my blog still. But
yeah,
they're just trying to think other ways to sort of incorporate it, because it can get quite dry and quite boring, and trying to teach them that it's actually okay, but you have to do everything and check with adults. And last but not least for today's show, we have got Mark Anderson, who'll be sharing verbal feedback. So Mark, let me know when you're ready and I will start the timer.
Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen now and just pop across. And I think it was Matt who said a second ago that brevity is king. So the first slide in the presentation will be really quick. See, there it goes. So I want to share about an app I come across called Vocal Recall. Now, that's not to be confused with Total Recall, that film from the 80s. In fact, if I could forget it altogether, that would be a great thing. This is a tool called Vocal Recall, and it's really, really powerful. It can be used for loads of different things, but if we think about what things like John Hattie talks about, feedback should be, just for me, just in time, just for where I am in my learning process, and just what I need to move forwards. Achieving that stuff for teachers is great, and all the rest of it, but sometimes it's not as easy as we like. So when we think about feedback, a student does a piece of work and they hand it in and give it to the teacher. They then give some feedback on it with specific improvement points, so that the learning is informed and the teaching is adapted based upon their responses, so that your teaching is responsive. But all these things take an awful lot of time. And so what this app does is it can really speed up that feedback loop, that process by which you give that feedback. So the app's called Vocal Recall. It's available on Android and iOS, and there's some short links down the bottom there for you. I'll show those again towards the end of the presentation. But just to run through how you use Vocal Recall, it's really, really simple. So step one, download the app, makes sense. And once you load at the app, it asks you to you need to get yourself some code, and what you can do is you can basically get them to email you a whole bunch of QR codes. So what you do is you then print those codes onto labels, and you can get some labels from that address just there. Now that's most of the legwork done now, because really all you've got to do now is find any bit of your students' work that you want to give a little bit of feedback on. You record your feedback into the app, you scan it to one of those stickers that you've printed off, and you stick that sticker on their work. And lo and behold, there's their feedback. So here's an example I saw on Twitter just the other day from a teacher from over here in England. This is Leslie Monroe. And if I just zoom in a bit on this and scan that QR code, here is feedback. You should be able to hear this, hopefully.
I've had a look at your essay and you've got really good structure. You can clearly make point, evidence, explanation, and you've written a conclusion.
You get the idea from that, I hope, from hearing that. So what can you use it for? Well, all sorts, not just giving feedback on essays and what have you. It could be verbal feedback, but it could also be helping learners with languages. I've seen one teacher who was actually, because you can record it to 5 minutes on each of those QR codes. So one teacher's been sort of playing music to the students to help them improve their performance and what have you. You could use it for interactive notes in the books. You could just record audio about your thinking about what have you about that. In advance, you use it for correcting pronunciation in languages. Again, really, really useful for those children who have difficulty reading written feedback and what have you. You can use it for audio notes. You can use it for all sorts. So that's Vocal Recall. On Android and iOS, you can get some stickers from Amazon. If you don't follow that link, just look for ones that are 35 stickers per sheet. And so I'm going to be finishing above time, actually. So I should have let Leslie's feedback play a little bit longer. That's me done. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And that is amazing, because I know I am one for this, and I hate when you're correcting the comments. I reckon it takes you hours. So I know what I'm downloading as soon as I get back for the start of the new school year here is that app, because that is perfect. I prefer to talk than write, so that suits me.
Same here. I'm all for doing anything that can speed up that sort of process for teachers. Imagine if you've got an A-level students, sort of IB sort of level, sort of 17, 18-year-old student who's done like a 10-page essay, and all you've got to give feedback in is at those tiny little margins down the side of the the sheet, or if they're doing handwritten essays and what have you. This way you can really open up and explore and give much more detailed feedback, because in my experience, in those sort of scenarios, often you'll just write "see me," and then you'll wait a whole bunch of time before you then see that child in class. Why not just give that feedback there? Because if you write "see me," you're then going to remember what you thought you were going to say when you see that child so many days later as well, and what have you, And everyone's got a cute reader on their device these days, It's just so simple, easy and effective, and it's free. So.
Or the other problem is you say, "see me," and then there's like 7 kids who need to see you and they can't do anything till you've seen them all. Yeah. So no, that's perfect. And that can send them off and keep them working, and you can target those other kids that you need to touch in and work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I love it. I can't wait to hang out next week, Mark. You're going to give me so many new things. I can't wait. Did anyone else have any comments or questions?
Thank you, Mark. That looks like an awesome tool and certainly a time saver. And often students might not read the comments that you write, so it's good. They probably will listen, but maybe they won't read. Could students also create feedback for other students using that same concept?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the app is completely free. The process is, like I said, once you've got your sort of bare bones done and got some stickers printed out, it doesn't have to be ones that you haven't got to sign up for an account or anything. You just say, download the app, get some stickers, record what you're saying, and then you press there's 3 buttons, which is basically record, and then sort of send, attach the sticker or delete. So you record it, press this button here to bring the camera up, to attach it, to scan it to a particular code, which binds them together. It uploads it. Job done. So you could use it for peer feedback, you could use it for all sorts. You could use it for, like I say, you're doing an exhibition in a bit of project-based learning, big exhibition, put the sticker on the sort of live piece on the wall, or it could be in a book. It could be used like in so many ways. And 5 minutes, is a really long time to get to talk. So
amazing. Thank you.
All loads of users. That's right. Pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, I also wanted to jump in and say how great I think this is. I've heard people say that we can talk 75% faster than we write, or I don't know, I'm kind of making that number up, but we can talk a lot faster than we can write. And I know that, whenever I work with teachers, they always talk about how time is one of their limiting factors. We never have enough time. Well, if you spend time writing, or if you spend time typing, then if you can change some of that into spoken word, then you're going to save yourself time. And this, of course, also makes me think of the idea of voice typing that you can use in Google Docs. So if you use that voice typing and then stick that into a comment on a digital document, or even there's that tool called Kaizen that lets you leave spoken feedback too. So I think that's kind of like the digital version of the same thing that you're talking about. So, lots of options out there, but I think this is a really, really important topic. The idea of using your voice to save yourself time and to make it a little bit more personal for the student too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see this working in schools which haven't really got their kind of sort of workflow nailed down. If you're a Google school, you can use Kaizen. Or if you're an Office 365 school, you can use OneNote. If you're an iPad school, you can use Shobi or Seesaw, what have you, so forth and so on. But there are so many schools that aren't anywhere close to that. And so such a simple solution as this, I think it can really help raise the bar for those schools that aren't quite there yet.
Yeah, and I think that's even great, even, thinking, not even those kids that you need to give that feedback, but for kids who do amazing pieces of writing. I remember a girl I taught last year, phenomenal writer, like she was grade 3 and she's writing year 6 pieces, like phenomenal. And, how much can I really write? Well done. This is another fantastic piece where I can really then talk and say, I really like the language, emotive language you used in this sentence, where I don't have time to write that down, but through that app you can easily do it. So I know what I'm downloading as soon as we finish this. So that actually brings us to the end of today's show, which is the first one for 2018. I'm just going to share my screen with the voting and the conference. So make sure you jump onto our website and check out this episode and previous episodes and vote for your favorite presenter from today's show, and make sure you purchase your tickets. As Mark and Matt said, they absolutely love the conference, and it is designed by teachers for teachers. I've spent my summer holidays doing that, so make sure you get your ticket and join us there. It's 2 days of lots of fun. And this year we've actually got a masterclass the day before as well for school leaders and a masterclass in STEM as well. So there's that happening too. So make sure you jump on. But huge thank you to our presenters. I know, Mark, we'll catch up next week. Matt, I don't know when we'll catch up, but I'm sure it'll be soon, hopefully soon. And Kathleen, I'll see you at the conference. So
Can't wait.
Really exciting. And yeah, our next episode is March, episode 38, and then it will be the conference. So we've only got one more episode before then, so get your tickets soon. Thanks, everyone, and have a good start of 2018. Bye.